Alright boys, how are we doing?
Marvellous.
We're good.
The relentless onslaught of fucking Hearts winning league games continues, eh?
It's an unstoppable train, man.
When will this misery end?
Hopefully soon, because I'm raging about being happy.
Welcome back to the biggest happy clapping podcast in Hearts Twitter. Outrageous. Everything's brilliant. Packed lunchbox, signed, bed sheets on the bed. The world is just rosy being a Hearts fan, innit?
More or less, aye.
That's it.
It's just continued on, really, hasn't it?
Exactly. The whole podcast is going to go downhill because we're just all too happy.
I know.
We might not play well, but we win games, weirdly.
We'll get fucked off Hibs next week and it'll be the best episode ever.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
I know. That's the only thing on the horizon to look forward to, innit? Back to the good old days. Back to the broader live reaction days. Be some laughed. Anyway, boys, how we all doing, Kev? Nice to see you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. Good to be back. It feels like absolutely months since we've been together. Oh, wait a minute. It is actually months since we've been together. But yeah, good to be back.
That sentence felt like I'm on fucking hell. I've not missed that. Brad, what's been happening?
Not much, mate. Not much. I've got to go on Saturday, enjoy myself, and just been chilling.
Chilling?
That's it.
Is that what type of
Taking it
podcast
easy.
we're now? We say chilling? Chilling with your bros.
Loosey goosey I am these days.
There we go. Thomas, how are you?
Good. Using my Sunday name. I like it. Just doing away. Nothing to add, really.
As always.
Are you nervous or something, man? You're chewing your fingernails like a complete specimen. What are you doing that for?
I'm nervous. I'm just
every week
nervous.
it's like
surely you know this.
every week it's like you've never been
after
on the
now.
podcast. You just can't handle it, man. And then
Nothing much, man. Dodging and diving. Enjoyed my wee trip up to Edinburgh. Back at Tynecastle yesterday. Had a great day out, apart from the first half of football, but we'll cover that. But all good. Me.
Hearts are back. Hearts are back, top of the league. Hearts are back, winning at home. What a time to be alive, innit?
Good job to rip up all your notes
Mate,
for the first half.
aye.
Squirrels away.
Aye. Since we won, I've had to bin on my negativity and be like, right, we've got to start the season with a nice happy podcast. So there we go. Welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, we're not affiliated to the football club. All of our opinions are our own and always miles off it. So today, boys, we'll go through a bit of headlines for the week. We'll obviously build up to Easter Road on Sunday. We'll review the game of two halves, literally, for Ross County. On Saturday, we'll get some conundrums with Brad's. We'll get a Tamdown with Tam, and our usual nonsense in between. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Apart from these conundrums, man, there can't be many players left like in our
Oh,
living
no.
memory that we haven't actually done
Well, we've
already.
just
So
signed six,
I'm waiting
so
for.
I'm assuming that one of them's going to be one of the guys we've just signed. So, but I don't know what we're ruining it, and it's no my conundrums.
There'll be another hairy cock ring coming out, I imagine.
Well, actually, that's now a word from our sponsors. Thanks to Manscaped, there should be no fucking hairy cock rings anyway. Right, Brads. Over to you. Let
Listen,
know what they are.
I know. I now know why we banned this feature, because I was looking at them and they're so bad, and we've done every player as well. So this is near impossible. If you get these, well done. For anybody who's kind of a new listener, I'll give you a wee. I don't know how to describe this wee conundrum. You've got to guess the player's name. The clues will be in the conundrum, and it'll be the first name and the surname. I've tried to factor them both in. So I've got three for you if you can get them, and then we'll give you the answers at the end.
I like how you tried to describe that there as something different, but said the word conundrum like 4 times anyway.
If I'm honest, I'm even more confused than when we started. That's fine.
Clue? We call it that? I don't know.
There you go. So a crossword clue for a player's name.
Oh, the Gorgie. There you go.
I'm going to say some shitty words. You put a player's name to it. Done.
Fair enough.
Right,
Ross Stewart.
You ready, boys? Your first one. Who is that new laddie Lou's dad? He is McCann and Berry's boy. Okay, I'm not giving you any more. I'm even giving you the initials. Who is that new lad, Lou's dad? He is McCann and Berry's boy.
God.
I love these confused faces.
Confused, nothing
So the
confused
clues-
about it. The only reason I'm confused is how anybody is not going to get that.
Aye, that's a terrible. That's a terrible. That's terrible.
Don't be confused till you've come to me for the
We'll
answer.
take
Then
it.
I'm
We'll take it.
Again, I'm not going to give you the initials now until you're really struggling at the end. Right, number 2. Home Alone allegedly punched Kevin Nisbet in the face last night. Home Alone allegedly punched Kevin Nisbet in the face last night. There's your second one. And your third one, and by the way, if you get this, fuck me, you're on a different planet. Levine looks absolutely off his nut, mate. Is he pissed? Nah, he's just been on too many horse tranquilizers. Levine looks absolutely off his nut, mate. Is he pissed? Nah, he's just been on too many horse tranquilizers. So, here's your 3 clues. You've got to put, and each clue will have the first and the last name featured into it. Okay? We'll come back to these at the end. I'll give you them again, and you can all tell me how much you fucking hate me. Done.
Accurate.
That's fair.
Sam, you got 1, 2, 3,
Zero.
0.
I think I'm definitely good with the first one. Second one, I'll need you to repeat it. But the third one, I'm away down a hole with that one. No idea.
And a kettle. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Aye.
Tam.
Next.
Let's have a Tamdown. You'll have to explain it to people.
Okay, so basically what we do is we've got a list of players. Well, on this occasion it is players. We go round the houses, each answer, and we'll go through it. So this week's
Do we have to have our
Tamdown.
hands? Do we have our hands up there?
Aye, exactly.
Sorry, apologies. I forget
No
a key
cheating.
moment. Kev still paused on my screen, so just let me know if he's got his hands
Don't
up.
worry, I will.
So in the last 10 years, an opening fixture of the season, we have had a total of 6 wins. Somebody's fucking vibrator going off. What's that noise?
Maybe you want to look closer at
I
home with
don't
that,
know.
was it, Tom?
Okay,
I'd maybe have a look
Go
in the
and
back
check
of your
check next
boxers,
door.
Tam, because there's nothing happening
It
downstairs.
is a Sunday night and your bird's in bed by herself, so I don't know if that paints a picture of your life rather than yours.
I just heard I heard a weird vibrating. We will cut that.
No
But
chance.
okay.
No.
Absolutely will
No
not.
chance.
Right, I'll start again. Sorry. In the last 10 years, on the opening fixture of the season, we have had a total of 6 wins. 6 wins and 24 goals in those 10 games. There's been 19 Hearts goal scorers on the first day of the season, and let's name them. So, first goal scorers, first game of the season goal scorers. It can be any of the goals from those results. Just Hearts players, obviously, for the last 10 years.
Last 10 years, right, okay.
Okay.
Including the people that scored yesterday.
Yes. Just to really
Oh, wow.
test you.
Right.
Right. Kicks up. Ando.
David O'Boer.
No.
Aye.
Was that outside 10 years ago, like?
Must have been.
I'm
Must have
struggling.
been.
Aye,
He
he was
before-
went
he
before
was before.
2012.
He was, aye, that's right.
Okay. Right.
Kev.
Danny Wilson.
Correct. Corbett.
Barry Mackay.
Correct. Bradley.
I'll take Forrest then.
Obviously. Yep. Ando.
He's on hell. William Boyce.
Correct. Amando.
Kev
Kev.
Smith.
Yes.
My
Corbett.
favourite player of all time. Gary Mackay Stephen.
Also correct. Bradley.
Lafferty.
Correct. Ando.
James Keatings.
Nope.
Mm.
Kev.
Osman So.
Absolutely.
Stephen
Corbett.
Kingsley.
Yes. With a double, I think he was, wasn't he?
Mm.
Bradley.
Oh, forgot about that.
Oh, Kingsley. I'm trying to think here. Prince Wabin.
Incorrecto.
Incorrecto.
Just because of Brad said, what did he say?
Don't try
earlier?
and take the heat off him. As he said chilling, you just said incorrecto.
Incorrecto. Ando.
Andy Halliday.
Yes.
The
Kev.
snake. John Suter.
Take that. Minus 10 points, as
Aye.
Corbett said last week.
I also like that I just got patched that round as well. That was fine. Aye,
Did
that's
you?
fine,
Oh, well,
alright,
you
I don't know
can
what
do
about
that.
Right.
Sorry, mate. Go for two then.
Josh and
Yes. And,
fuck off. Somebody else's turn.
all right. Brad's.
Chapping now.
How many have we got left?
7.
9. I definitely said there were 19, was it not?
But 2 of them have been Stephen Kingsley.
Aye, we've
Tam
had
fucked us.
there's 11 points.
Oh, is that?
Aye.
Right.
Tam's not thought this one through, has he?
I have. I've got a spreadsheet and everything. I'm ticking them off as we go.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to think here. Who have we missed it? I'm trying to think older. Sharp. We can cut all this empty space and it just sounds like I said it
Right.
very quickly.
As we always do, mate. Don't worry.
Right. Let's.
Right. Move on.
Can I have my turn
Yes.
again for the last round? One man.
Go for it. Yes.
Oh,
Right. Kev. No, Ando, sorry.
Naismith. Yeah, quite a prolific
Yep.
season.
Scored in 2 games, actually.
Yeah.
But it only counts for 1 point. But aye.
Oh,
Kev.
cheers, Tam.
Ewan Henderson. I
Nope.
thought he scored against Dundee. Bollocks.
We've had all the Dundee
Lovely.
scorers. Yeah.
Sam
Corbett.
Nicholson.
Yes. Brad's. Are you back in?
Vipuk.
Aye.
He joined in January, so.
So that's fuck that.
Ando.
Itchy.
Nope. Got 4 players left. Kev.
Halkett.
Nope.
Peter
What season?
Herring, baby.
Oh, I
Correct.
stole
Corbett.
it.
With a double in his
Mhm.
debut, wasn't
Wait, Hamilton.
it? Right. Brad, are you done? Are you? What I
I'm
guess?
done, mate. Nah,
Okay.
pass.
Ando.
I was going to go with Haring. Corbett stole it. Sorry. Nah, I'm Chapman as well, I think.
Nice to see you with your hands
Well,
up and not swinging a fucking knife about like a maniac. What are you doing?
It's just a pen knife.
Aye,
man.
but who gets
You-
2022 who carries a penknife?
because it's got a screwdriver on it, I needed it to build my desk.
Get a screwdriver.
But that's
To be fair, you've done a good job
downstairs
at
in the
not making
fucking
that noise
garage.
for last week.
I lost the toolkit for ages, so shut it. I'll
I
stab
seen
you.
him on Saturday with
Aye,
a laser
aye.
pen.
Who am I at?
Me,
Ando, still. Aye.
Mikey Smith, if he's been said already.
He's been said, unfortunately.
Piss and shit.
I can
Uh,
tell you the
fuck
years
that
if
then,
that
How
helps,
many have we
so-
got left?
3. Kev first, though.
I'm out. I can't even think.
You're it. Corbett, do you want to name all 3?
I don't know if I got all 3, but let me guess for the. We beat St Johnstone like 4-2 the opening game of the season. Sam Nicholson scored. I think Callum Patterson might have scored.
Correct. Yep.
Is there another goal scorer for that game?
That's it. It was 4-3, double for Nicholson, 1
Alright,
for
okay.
Patterson.
Right, give me the next ones then. Give me the
Here we
years of
go.
the next ones. Don't tell me who they are. Or like how are they relatively new or old?
I'll tell you the years: 2019 and 2018. One goal scorer each.
Right. Okay.
One of these players is your all-time favourite.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah,
As soon as you say that, you get it straight away.
that's it.
Ando.
Go for it.
Steve McLean.
Yep.
Who was
And
that?
then we've got friend of the
Who
show.
was that? Who was that against? Then I'll say Josh Giannelli. Then I'll say
Hamilton,
Josh Giannelli.
other
Jimmy
friend of the
Walker.
show. Yes.
Aye.
He scored against Celtic in 2016 and
Aye.
Aberdeen 29. Corbett ran away with that, 9 points. Kev was closest at 4. So,
I got more than 4. No, actually, I didn't. I'm just.
Ando, you go.
I'm
Oh,
And
no,
who
you
got
got
minus
4 as
10 for St John's? So
Kev.
Oh,
Kev.
Kev.
So that makes
Kev
me
Hansel was
second place.
I must say, I
I've
was
got
fucking. I was
minus
delighted to see him have
6
such a
or
good debut for Rangers. It was good. You like to see your homegrown talent or whatever go and make an absolute fucking to themselves in their first game for their new club. Superb.
It wasn't even the one
Mate,
mistake.
he
He
got
was
rinsed.
howling. That big noodle
Aye.
got
You
Pumped
get
inside out.
absolutely fucking
To be
rinsed.
fair, if he's going to be playing left centre half, he's going to struggle.
Fuck him. Fuck him. We moved on. Right. Let's talk about headlines for this week. Obviously, Friday we were at Tynecastle. We helped set up the Busby Tifo, which we'll talk about in a wee second. But we were there primarily to have our yearly sit down with Mr. Joe Savage. The interview should be out by Wednesday. All things going well, hopefully. Savage is class to talk to, as always. Just everything he says, you want to run through walls for him. He's superb. One of the first things he said when we spoke to him was set expectations as to how last season was. Says it was a good season. It wasn't a great season, because great seasons you win trophies. We never won any trophies last year in the club at our size. Wants us to be winning trophies and stuff, so it was great to hear. Talked a bit about transfers in and out and reflected on last season, look forward to this season in Europe and sort of where the club is at in terms of what's priorities for the coming years. We spoke about obviously his bullish comments about wanting to win the leagues and stuff, which was class. He's just, you could sit and talk to him all day. He's proper gorgy as fuck now, like, which is good. Put a couple of things to bed as well. We obviously the Ellis Sims transfers. Obviously now as we record this Sunday, he's season-long loan at Sunderland. Savage pretty much confirmed that even if we bent over backwards to try and sign Sims, there was more than a couple of things in play. Sims himself kind of personally felt like he'd achieved everything that he needed to achieve at Hearts. You know, came in, scored goals, finished third, got to a cup final. Almost job done for him. But then just the fact that the sheer numbers that you're talking about in terms of his salary and stuff, you know, you're talking 16 grand a week. Everton see it as a business. He's not going to feature for them. So whoever took him had to buy him or take the full can, so to speak. And even if we could pay 50% of his wages, we're not paying £8,000 a week for somebody to come in. So the Ellis Sims things was an absolute non-starter for Hearts. No matter what we did, we could have broke the bank twice for him. We still wouldn't have been able to afford it. So it was good for him to sort of put that stuff right. Busby Tifo as well. Thanks to everybody that came and helped us on Friday. Got a bit messy towards the end, we won't lie, but everybody was there. We'll know that. Just the excitement of being in Tynecastle on a non-match day, being able to walk around the pitch and stuff. It got a bit mad, but thanks to absolutely everybody that came and helped. It was brilliant. Got it smashed through really quickly. Thanks to Stephen for the Tifo company and that as well. He was class getting it all sorted, and it looked class on Saturday night, boys.
Good.
Really good.
Standard.
So obviously, as we look at it now, what we're going to have at least 4 home games in Europe this year. That's right, isn't it? 1 qualifier,
Yeah.
and then 3 in the
Right.
group stages, whether it be Europa League or Conference. We are going to try and have as many displays as we possibly can. So we spoke about it on the pod last week, I think, but again, the Wheatfield is the only stand that we have that lends itself to being able to do displays, because the Roseburn Houses away fans, the main stand houses the directors box and all that sort of stuff, and the Gorgie houses hospitality. So the Wheatfield is the only stand that we can do tifos or displays or banners and stuff like that. So thanks to everybody on the day that actually took part. We focus on the positives, which was it looked really, really good. But obviously there was more than a handful of people that actually never took part in it, whether it be because they wanted to bow their heads in respect, I don't know, or whether it's just because they're against displays or whatever. But luckily it never made it look shite or whatever. So let's focus on the positives, as it looked really cool. And we had Drew Busby's family messages yesterday, just to say how blown away they were by it. They were the club's guests of honour, so to speak. So they couldn't believe the sort of tribute and the outpouring of emotion towards their dad. So thanks to everybody that helped made that happen, which was class. You boys, Tam, Brad, you were sitting the main stand. How did it look for your end?
Yeah, it looked fantastic. Obviously, I think folk jumped the gun. They never got the message, and they were part holding it up when there were folk walking out the tunnel. And I was kind of like, "Oh God, this is looking messy." But as soon as the minute silence started, it blew up, and it looked fantastic, and it was a really poignant, fitting moment. So well done for all involved. That looked great.
And hopefully going forward in that as well, we'll have the screens, so we'll be able to put things on the screens to say, do you know what I mean? During the minute silence, hold the bit up, or any future displays and stuff like that. And to be fair, some of the displays we're looking at pretty cool. We're looking at like 3D tifos. We're looking at nets and stuff to put at the stand so that we can make it look class, like do stuff that isn't just your sort of bog standard displays for Europe. So keep an eye on it. We'll probably have to do some form of like crowdfunding and stuff for it, but we'll let you know what the plans are, because obviously the club helped pay half of the tifo that we've just done, because the costs kind of ran away from it due to supply and demand things and Brexit and all this mad stuff. The cost of the tifo actually near enough doubled, so the club stepped in and helped pay for that, which was class. And as always, thanks to Kat and everybody at the club, Misha and that as well, for help making it happen. Back to the football. Kingsley injury, that was a fun side note to Saturday, wasn't it? When by the time I think we'd got to our seats for kick-off, he was training at QPR, wasn't he? He'd been doing it at QPR all day training.
Oh, he was on the plane, he was gone, he was everywhere.
Shanks came out with a beauty. He said that he'd snapped both his Achilles and couldn't walk.
That's a belter in injury, isn't it?
That was according to Kickback, apparently, which tells you everything you need to know about that.
Aye.
But aye, he's like, I snapped both his Achilles, man, it's fucked. I was like, all right. And then another thread again had him on a plane or a train or whatever, going down to a championship team. I was like, aye, all right then. I'm not lying. I was worried for 30 seconds, then I realised, well, it's Shanks
aye.
coming out with this. Aye.
So the resident wee lassie on the podcast, Tam, you've got a TikTok. So what was on TikTok that you seen?
I can confirm as a wee lassie, I liked it and everything. I gave it a wee share. I don't even know what TikTok
don't try
was.
that, cool now. You had a TikTok t-shirt on last week.
It came up on my page though. The players arriving, Stephen Kingsley with his wee, I don't know, wash bag, walking into the dressing room. So we're all good. He was there. He's just got a wee calf strain.
He's got a wee calf because
he wasn't playing.
Well done, Sam. Never even meant it to. Talking of weeks off, Brads, you've had fucking hundreds of them. It is funny that you have like actual like grown men that understand or claim to understand how football works, saying things like, "Aye, he's doing training with QPR," and it's like, okay. Well, let's hope that he is, because one, that's completely and utterly against every rule that fucking the SFA or UEFA or whoever it is have. You can't literally just show up and train with a club unless you're sold to them. That was fun, wasn't it?
Aye, but you know what? I'm just glad it's no a link to the old firm. Usually
that'll be.
That's
when do we play Celtic?
He was missing. He was missing because he couldn't get back for the Livy game in time or something like that.
Well, we play Celtic soon enough, don't we?
Aye, that'll be it. That'll be it next.
Gorgie Grant or Gorgie Rules will be linked with Celtic or something. That's what always happens, isn't it?
Yeah,
100%.
coming next
there's
week.
always an Irish granny that comes at the woodwork. Oh, it was always my ambition for them to play for the Celtic.
Aye.
And that's that.
Aye.
But I'll let the Daily Record spin that nonsense.
I do enjoy those stories though. They do make me laugh. Right. Speaking of playing linked with people, what this morning, seen in some of the social media sites or whatever that we're linked with, Davenport guy. I think does he play with Blackburn currently, or has been released by Blackburn?
No club. He's free agent.
Nice.
Anybody
Free
get
agent.
any insight into Davenport or?
He plays
He's
in
got-
midfield.
Yeah, and he's got a goal. You ready for this? Every 24
good.
games.
Oh, brilliant.
He's only played about 24 games as well, hasn't he?
117.
Okay, that was close.
There doesn't seem to be masses on him. He left Blackburn on a kind of sour note because they weren't playing him much. So
You can see why.
Well, they're owned
Who
by
knows?
Marshall's the Chunky Chicken Champions, aren't they? They now got those absolute mentalist owners. They're called Bennikies or something.
Benkies.
Benkies, aye. The chicken stranglers.
Chicken stranglers.
That's what they do. I'm sure that's what that company is.
There was a story about a chicken. Was that not on this podcast? There was some sort of chicken strangling.
Aye,
I
I've
don't know.
told that story before, but my mate,
Aye.
sadly no longer with us, Big Drew Halliday, but it was a belter of a story when we were doing like show and tell or something, when you tell stories when you're at primary school as to what your dad does or whatever, and he stood up and says, "My dad strangles chickens."
For the Vikings.
he literally worked for Marshalls or whatever, which I think used to be in Livingston or something, or like in the
Is it Newbridge, mate?
aye, somewhere like
Oxford.
that. Aye. So that was a belter of a story.
Was it? Am I getting confused? Not to go off on a tangent, but we're gonna. Was this the story you were telling last week? Like where they kill them, they put them like upside down inside like an inverted traffic cone, and their wee head pops through, and they just go like that.
I have no idea.
Snap their
Were
neck.
we talking about that last week? I can't remember that.
Maybe I
That
dreamt
seems
that.
something like I would remember
Maybe-
as well.
I heard that story recently about how they strangle chickens, and that I don't know. I'm just putting two and two together and getting 1600, but never
Is there
mind.
another story that Mike Dean, the ref, is also a chicken strangler or something?
It's
Nah, he's just a wanker.
Aye, well, that's what
Right.
choking his chicken in it.
True. Right.
That's what.
But Tam's been doing.
That's
all
what
night.
your
Bit of pass it
your
off.
bird's doing, and that's what that vibrating was in the bedroom, innit?
Now I can't cut that bit. Thanks.
Aye. No, that is a tangent, but no, I don't know. That wasn't me you were talking about. Unless I was as the resident vegan, I don't know if I was upset at the chickens being treated unfairly, and that's what I was grating about. But that's a rabbit hole we didn't need to go down. Right. So
Maybe.
the short of that answer is nobody's got a fucking clue who Davenport is.
Nah,
I
sounds
forgot
fish.
what we were
It'll
speaking
be-
about,
it'll be
isn't
brilliant.
it?
Which was good. There you go. As we say every
But
week, this is your one-stop shop for stats, up-to-date information, relevant information. That's us, isn't it?
That fucking nonsense, really. Well, at least we've got a show name. It will definitely be Chicken Strangler.
It's got to be. Right, unless somebody can say anything better than that. Just talking about Saturday before we obviously talk about the actual game as well. Advertised as a sellout, and obviously it was pretty busy. Like it was clearly close to a sellout, but I've battered Celtic primarily all last season for their whole sold out nonsense, and then you see the pictures and the whole behind the goals is just filled with empty seats, and it was the exact same on Saturday. Obviously, we've got this sort of ticket exchange thing that's going on. The club said that it was really, really popular, got loads of uptake, but there was just loads and loads of empty seats. And I seen it again. It was like the Edinburgh Derby. You watch Andy Halliday score the equaliser, runs to lower G. Just the first 3 rows are empty. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I sit at the back of section G, so there's always like fucking at least 4 rows of people at the back that didn't sit there, so they're all crammed in. But still, you seen it in the Roseburn. There was empty seats. Wheatfield, there was empty seats. Gorgie, there was empty seats. Main stand, there's empty seats. It all adds into the atmosphere as well. And we tweeted, and about a couple of hours ago before this, we started recording this, was obviously the atmosphere as well on Saturday. Buzzing before it, like even walking past the Tiny Arms or whatever, which is a notorious library, before the game was bouncing with songs coming out it and all that sort of stuff, walking down Gorgie Road, etc. Folk buzzing for the game, getting to the stadium. Build up was actually all right in terms of the montages of the goals. The new guys that were on it actually did a semi decent job at trying to break the Scott Wilson sort of routine. Kick off decent, and then after about 2 minutes, nothing. Just everybody sitting in silence. It's pretty grim, wasn't it?
Aye.
Yeah, it was painful. I was sitting, obviously, not where I usually go to or have been, and honestly, it's an absolute library there. I was the only person singing. I was like, "This is embarrassing." Like, what's
Main
going
stand.
on? I was main stand. Aye. It's apart from main stand's dire.
Aye. Well, we're the same, Ando. We're and Kev when you're bothered to show up. We're G. We're section G. I stand up the very back. I'm like one of the back rows of section G. But again, it's like if G and N aren't singing, nobody's singing. Do you know what I mean? There's like this sort of, and don't get me wrong, right? This is probably the wrong one to bring it up because we were fucking pissed for 45 minutes on Saturday. But still, opening game of the season, we've not had football for a few weeks, couple of months or whatever it is. Last season's opening game of the season was only 5,000 people there. This is a sellout. You would expect it to be bouncing and sort of. We all said it in the pub before the game as well. It was the most expectant and excited I'd been for the start of the season in ages. Like I was stupidly confident that Hearts were going to win 6-0. Like we're just going to show up, play like Brazil, win, buzzing to get into the stadium, buzzing to get the game going. And then as soon as the game started, it was nothing.
These things go hand in hand as well. Like the players will G up off the crowd, and yet the crowd are also reactive to the football in the park. So you watch that first half performance, and everybody was nervous, which made the players probably more nervous. And it's not a great situation. You're one's waiting to inspire the other, and it's just not happening.
Boris, when they but when they walk out and see that tifo display, minute silence, the cheer after the minute silence, surely that gets them buzzing and gets them on the front foot for the get-go. But it didn't happen as well.
Aye, but then what I say is like Ando, what I was going to say there was the difference is like, so in a away game, for example, right, the away crowd almost knows that the team needs the fans, so they'll no sit in silence, they'll sing, they'll stand, they'll get going, they'll start chants, they'll get behind the team. Whereas at home, it's like the polar opposite. Like they'll cheer for the teams coming out, sing the Heart song, the Europe song, and then it's like, right, sit down, right, do something. And as soon as things didn't start to go our way, it's no like what it's like in an away game where folk think, fuck, we're under the cosh, let's get going. It's moan and groan and silence, basically.
Aye, it's like absolutely right. It took about, I think, to the end of the third minute for the guy that sits one row in front of me and a couple of seats off to the left. He's absolute miserable bastard, but he'd been up and been cheering and everything like that. 3.5 minutes reverted to type. Just a complete miserable bastard. And I hope you listen. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but that was just it. It was almost a case of, right, I've come here to be entertained. I've not seen a goal within the first couple of minutes after all the expectation, and then it's just a case of the head's down and I'm just going to get right in their back again. Now, there's obviously a whole load of factors at play which we'll get into, but I'll be honest, I was ready for leaving at half time, just because, not only because of what we were watching on the park, but I was genuinely bored. Right, so everybody that was sat around me, and I'll criticise them all face to face if I have to, they were all just like nothing. Even Shanks wasn't even bothered singing, and he's normally right up for it, but it was lackluster for the crowd. I don't know if to your point, if there was just too much expectation that just never got fulfilled in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then everybody just sort of died a death after that. But it was crap. The atmosphere was horrible yesterday.
Aye, I don't know how we improve it, Kev. But obviously we've got some big games coming up in terms of, we've got European nights coming back to Tynecastle. We spoke to Joe Savage about that as well. Like the last time, obviously we played Liverpool, we played Tottenham at home, but the last time we had sort of consistent European games, they were all at Murrayfield. So like, it feels to me like these are going to be really special nights, like almost like St Mirren in the Cup, 7:45 kickoffs, 8 o'clock kickoffs. But we can't have 8 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday. So what do we do to get the atmosphere better at him?
Well, that's the thing. You know, the big games take care of themselves. I always think anyway, the big games take care of themselves from an atmosphere point of view. It is the games against Ross County, Motherwell, St Mirren, these kind of games where the atmosphere's just never there. And I think it's got worse over the years, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't know, and you can maybe, is it because we do have this, you've got to sit down, and whereas back in the day, and I am old enough to actually remember those days before anybody says anything, where you were standing, there was a lot more, you had a wee bit more passion around about you. I don't know. I think the fact that you're now sitting and you do feel that you're at some sort of show that you've got to get, give me the entertainment, and then if I get entertained, then that'll, liven me up, and then off the back of that gets portrayed across onto the field. So what do we do? I'm not going to be able to come up with any answers. I know we've spoken about it as a podcast before, and maybe off air, things like turning the Gorgie Road end into some form of safe standing. Does that then generate? That's not something that's going to be happening any time in the next 5-6 months. That's a long-term plan if that's the way the club want to go. But I do genuinely feel that as soon as folk do sit down, it then just dies the whole atmosphere wise.
Aye. Would even
That's a valid point. Like, we must be one of the few big clubs that has nothing behind either goals.
Aye.
I mean, nothing. And I mean, Gorgie, I don't know if you've ever sat in the Gorgie end. It is horrendous. It's worse than main stand. You get like a bad look at you if you open a packet of crisps too loudly. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a very
clapping
family
offends
stand.
people's ears and all that kind of stuff. Honestly.
I got
It's
kicked
brutal.
out the Gorgie stand when we played Bordeaux. But I was kicked out every other stand as well. But the Bordeaux game in particular, my mad, for some strange reason, made us White Russians. I took like a Diet Coke bottle like that size of like White Russian to the game and was absolute mangled.
See that this is the Corbett I cannot wait to have back at Euro nights, man. Because see, if you bring a bottle of White Russian into the first Euro game, I'll be up there with you.
It'll be somewhere.
Corbett's stomach, he couldn't stomach a White Russian anymore, I imagine.
Nah, boys still got it, man. He's
Very
still
true.
got it.
Right. Couple of VAR things as well. Obviously, we didn't want to get fucking pure boring about it because there's nothing that we can change. But we discussed it earlier in the group chat. Opening game of the season already, and right across nearly every single game had stupid decisions that, again, VAR is going to come in. I think it was originally going to come in after the World Cup, which would be the World Cup November and December or something like that, innit?
Yeah, they were going to delay it and roll it out when the season restarted after the World Cup.
But now it's going to be after the first round of games, and I don't know if that coincides with the break for that anyway, or if we'll play more than the first, if they played more of the games than that anyway. But basically, it's coming in after the first round of fixtures. So you look at things like in isolation yesterday, there was incidents in the Rangers-Livy game, there was incidents in our game, there was incidents in the Hibs game, there was incidents today as well, the Motherwell St Mirren game, and fuck it, can you pay me to pay attention to Kilmarnock and Dundee United and whatever the other game was. But I asked the question, we'll just go quickly around the table because we didn't want to get into the semantics of it or whatever, but what's your views on it? Ando, obviously we talked earlier, what's the merits of bringing it in with a quarter of the games already played?
So the merit is that you start to normalise things. So I know you're either in the unfair camp or you're not. I think the whole point of it being unfair, being implemented a quarter of the way through the season is absolutely ludicrous. If you can bring something in to improve the game, then do it right away. I don't give a shit if it's quarter, halfway through, 3/4, or even bring it in for the final game of the season. If you make that move to bring it in, you are going to improve the game. End of. Anybody else that disagrees, obviously you're entitled to it. But for me, this whole thing has come about because of the SFA dragging their heels. If they'd had the meeting to organise this even 8 weeks earlier, 10 weeks earlier, we could have been in a situation where the building is done, the training's been done, the sign-off has been done, and we would have started the season with it. It's just another SFA failure.
Aye, agreed. Yes, Tam, the thing that one of the obviously we all heard the sports sound debate or whatever with those two knobheads, but the thing comes where the understanding of what VAR can and can't do is a big thing, isn't it? Because VAR are going to be used slightly different in Scotland compared to the English Premier League, for example. It will only be used for clear and obvious errors. So, you know, you've got to look at, if you look at some of the instance in isolation, is VAR even going to be that big of a differentiator? You're on mute. VAR.
He's on mute for
VAR
fuck's
is
sake.
making that decision. Aye, VAR, you're a fucking
Yeah.
wank. Aye, there you go. Right, on you go, Thomas.
I was just going to say, I suppose it depends what you define a clear and obvious decision
Fuck
is,
up.
like wrong decision. Like that could be anything really, to be honest with you. And knowing the SFA, it'll be anything against the teams outside of the Old Firm. It'll probably not be clear and obvious. So we'll see. But I don't know, man. Honestly, it's. If you were putting up the English system against what the SFA are going to have, I know it's going to be a diluted version, and it's probably not going to have the same impact as what it does down south.
Well,
to be honest with you.
Sorry to interject, but just to jump into that, like the whole clear and obvious thing, that is what it is. But the system that Scotland should be looking to implement is the way that they do it in the Champions League. For me, that works
Yeah, 100%.
far fucking better, right? And even then, there's only certain things that can be like so. For example, someone goes over the top of somebody, and the referee gives a yellow card. Right? If the referee's seen something, that it might be a clear and obvious error, but the clear and obvious error is only towards, I think, certain fouls or for certain rule breaches. It's not absolutely everything. So if we employ that system, then I think we're on to a winner. But what we've seen in the early days, especially in England, that was absolutely crap. It ruined the game. So hopefully we stay away from that.
Well, Brad, the unanswered question or the elephant in the room for me so far with all of this has been that if VAR is using the camera angles and images that we saw yesterday, for example, on Sports Scene, it's going to be fucking pointless, isn't it? Because, like, you know, the Ross County goal, for example, in real time, I kind of thought, could that have been offside? I'm not really 100% sure. And there's like no angles to draw the mad lines to say here's this fucking toenail that's an inch offside or whatever. Like, it's going to be totally and utterly pointless if we're just using the angles and cameras that we have currently in it.
Well, it is, and that is going to be the infrastructure we've got, because there's no way that your teams like Motherwell or Kelly are going to spend tens and tens of hundreds of thousands of pounds on having cameras running the whole way down the stands. That's just not going to happen. I know Rangers and Celtic have spoken about helping fund that, but as you said, it's going to come down to a subjective decision. It's going to be somebody sitting in an office making a subjective decision, going, "Well, actually, I think that was a red, whereas the refs made a yellow card decision." I think that will then sway the referee to change to red. So again, it comes down to subjective. What you think is a red card might be completely different to another referee, to another referee, to another referee. So again, it doesn't really answer any problems, solve any problems.
Aye, especially if you look at both the goals in the Livingston Rangers game, they had Sky, so obviously would have showed up with a hell of a lot more cameras for a Livy game than what would be at a normal Livy St Mirren game, for example. And even then, they couldn't properly define whether the big boy that scores the header for Rangers is onside or offside for their camera angle, and there's no definitive pictures to decide whether or not it was an actual foul on Tav for the Livingston equaliser as well. When you think, well, what's the point?
They never even showed a replay of that.
I know, because I think they were saying is because the play had stopped by the time the ball went into the net or whatever. But it's one of those things that's going to, for me anyway, we need it. Like I'm all for VAR. I think it's needed, but a diluted version using the fucking potato cameras that we have here, like if you think about the fairness of it, right? So you play at Celtic Park or Ibrox, they're going to have hundreds of cameras anyway for their own in-house TVs. Are going to have better setups than everybody else, so they maybe get the benefit of a decision purely based on the fact that actually they have better angles, better cameras, versus, like you said, us going to Livingston on a Wednesday night when there's free cameras and you're trying to decide whether or no Leon Boyce was on side for a camera that's on the fucking Bubbles roof. You're like, okay, who knows, man? Anyway,
Is there
Good
not?
little in
Is,
joke
is
that,
there
I
not
like
like a? Is there not like a minimum camera number of cameras that have to be involved in the VAR system?
so
So they
Yeah,
have
there
to have
is.
like as a minimum like 12 cameras or
So I
something
think
like
what they were saying on Sports Scene is like, so the team that's in like 12th place have to spend like £60,000 on VAR, and the teams at the top of the league have to spend £200,000 on VAR
Yeah.
or whatever. So, for example, us Hibs, I don't know what Aberdeen's plans are, but we've got big screens, etc. now, so they could potentially have like under review, penalty decision, etc. up on the big screens, whereas Livingston, whoever else might just put a tannoy announcement out saying VAR or looking at this potential red card or something. But aye, you're right. It's gonna cause hundreds of carnage for the first part of the season, which will be fucking fun.
Kim, it's another complication, and I'm happy to be shot down on this because I can't remember the last time it happened, or if indeed it has happened. We don't even have goal line technology in the Premier League, do we?
Nope.
So are we getting goal line technology as part of VAR? VAR,
I
sorry.
believe so. I believe it's
Orbit's
not like
shaking his
the
head and
ball
you're saying aye.
technology.
Ah.
No, but it's not the ball technology. It's not the actual technology, but it'll be checked on a camera essentially.
Okay, so what we're getting is off the back of a wagon
Aye.
goal line
Yeah, 100%
technology,
basic-
right?
basically,
Okay,
Satellite
sound.
technology. Aye.
Well done, SFA.
SFA
Another
t-
fucking win.
SFA right down to a T in it.
SFA using Google Maps to
Aye.
see if
And
it went or not.
Jesus
I will
Christ.
just reiterate back to the Scottish Cup final, the 2019 COVID final v Celtic or whatever. There was 6 officials and not one single one of them gave Stephen Kingsley's goal as in,
Oh, God,
even though
no.
it was about fucking 10 yards over the line. If it wasn't for the goal line technology in play that day, we wouldn't have got that goal, even though it was miles over the line. So that'll be fun. Talking of fun, right, boys, let's talk about what we're here. Saturday afternoon, opening game of the season, Heart of Midlothian 2, Ross County 1. Let's discuss. On paper, sounds a hell of a lot easier than it was in reality, wasn't it?
Aye, absolutely. I watching Sports Scene and it came up all the stats and that, and it looked like we had 65% possession or whatever
Aye.
it was, and 15 shots to the 11. I was like, what the? Where did that happen? Like, where was that all
I
this?
think let's caveat the sort of the positive stuff that was first is I think you could clearly tell that they'd played competitive matches.
Definitely.
They had played 4 competitive games going into that match versus that was our very first ever competitive match. So we were sluggish, we were slow, far too predictable. So, yep, you kind of get an excuse for that, but everything else was pretty rubbish, if I'm being honest with you. Ando, for the match, starting 11, obviously, no Kingsley, etc. Boyce, not in the team. 2 defenders, basically, essentially, anyway, sitting in the middle of the midfield. Mikey Smith and Peter Haring. Cochrane, Atkinson being the sort of wing backs. Forrest, Shankland, and Mackay up front. What was your thoughts pre-match when you seen the lineup?
I'll be honest, I was terrified because I just heard Shanks say that Stephen Kingsley snapped Beatty's Achilles, and that's why he wasn't. I know we've covered it already, but it's worth reiterating the lunacy that boy comes out with. That coupled with the fact that Mikey Smith, like sitting in the centre, I was like, nah, it's not for me. I don't think it works. And then you've got Civic at the back now. I want to like the guy. But whenever I see his name on the team sheet, I always think there's an accident in there. With the greatest of respect, and God rest his soul, sometimes in the early days when I seen Zaliukas' name on the team sheet, I was like, fucking hell. Because let's be honest, they had these bomb scare moments. You think there's definitely an accident in there. And that's what happens every time I see Civic on the team sheet. Smith being played out of position as well, although you could maybe say he got away with it, but there's a phrase that you come up with all the time, which is square pegs, round holes. And I think that was exactly what we seen yesterday. And for me, the 3-4-3 didn't work. That personnel in that formation, as it was played yesterday, it's not for me. Sorry,
I agree. Brad's the 3-4-3, something that we stuck with pretty religiously last year, barring a few games where we moved away from it. But what's your thoughts on that formation?
I don't necessarily mind it. The issue is how easy it, or how unable we are to react when things aren't going right. So you look at that right hand side of the defence yesterday, and it was clear from the 5th or 6th minute that's where Ross County were going to attack. Every single ball was going to go in between Civic and in between Atkinson, because the pair of them were fucking struggling. And instead of reacting to the situation and changing bodies around more sooner than that, we stuck by it. And this perseverance of Robbie, he's obviously changed things the second half, which is great, and he's also given them a boot up the backside in the change rooms at half time, which is really good to see. But this whole idea that you can't change until you get to half time or to the 60th minute, I don't agree with. You've got to react to the game that's in front of you and make the changes where you need them. Ideally, I'd like to see the 4-2-3-1, but if he's going to stick with it, then so be it. But the players just have to be able to react better to difficult situations.
Look, I agree with Ando. It doesn't fill me with confidence when I see Toby Civic play, but he was absolutely hung out to dry by Nathaniel Atkinson on Saturday. Tam, what an absolute stinker of 27 minutes he had.
Honestly, I suppose we'll never know if he actually was injured, but that change had to happen. It had to happen.
I was sitting on halfway line, and he'd be getting kicked out of the team for a good few games for me for his attitude, because that Edwards boy turned him inside and out every single time. And I get that sometimes happens in a game, but you can't fucking spit the dummy. And he got done, and he stood there and looked at Robbie and put his hands up, and then he walked over when the ball was still in play. He walked over towards the halfway line looking like he was about to start greeting because he was getting done in. And then they had to scream at him to get back into position. Tam, you were sitting closer. You heard I heard Halkett and Gordon.
You had Halkett, you had Haring
screaming at him constantly.
Screaming at the two of them, to be honest with you. They were talking them through the game the whole way. And that's not their job, because they've got their own game to concentrate on. And it had an element of effect on Haring's game, because he didn't have his best game in a maroon shirt, to be honest with you. So Smith came in obviously and changed it, and it was a lot more solid on that right hand side. But man, he does need to take I agree with Brad. He needs to take a wee step out for a couple of weeks for me. Defensively, he's just not there.
Again, it's hard to judge that, because Brad's is right. There's a perseverance to stick with 3-4-3 even though it's not working. There's a perseverance to keep players in positions even though it's not happening for them. Look at the instant improvement by bringing a midfielder on to play in midfield and moving a right back that was playing in midfield to play right back. And suddenly, that was it, because Edwards got subbed off after that. For 40 minutes, he ran as ragged. 35 minutes, he ran as ragged. Then Smith moved in, Grant came on. Grant was a bit sluggish to begin with but as you'd expect, he just came on to a game where we are being outplayed, pressed all over the park. We were completely in second gear, couldn't get going, and the momentum was all with Ross County. But again, you move Mikey Smith to right back, and suddenly Toby Civic looks more confident, because he's not having to second guess what Atkinson is doing, where he's going to be, what positions he's taking up, because that guy was rinsing Atkinson, but by rinsing Atkinson was leaving Civic one-on-one with the best player on the park, being like, what the fuck did I do? Because Atkinson's not coming to back me up here. He's cutting inside, he's hitting the bar, he's putting in crosses. So in that sense, I felt for Civic because obviously he was getting absolutely no cover. But as soon as Mikey Smith moved into there and we settled, like we just nullified that threat, if you know what I mean.
The settling part was the most important, and I think you'll probably go on to about Grant's performance, but he settled the whole team. Because up until that point, it was hot potato, and every player, regardless of how experienced they were just giving the ball to the person closest to them because they didn't want it.
But
and they weren't moving for the ball, they weren't moving into position. They'd get the ball and then quickly shift it to the next person closest to them without thinking what the next pass is going to do. Or it was just route one to Shankland and hope to fuck that something happens.
They never won a single one.
And we'll talk about that Shankland out ball in a minute. But Ando, the thing that impressed me the most with Grant was, and it's the subtle things, it's the difference between someone that's grew up playing football in that position versus somebody that's good at football that's asked to play in that position. Every touch that Mikey Smith has, he was facing Craig Gordon. So he's instantly, he's only got 3 options for a pass, one of them being Craig Gordon. He's not going to take it on the half turn and he's not going to beat his man. We're also getting pressed and he's not confident to take it on the half turn and face somebody up. So they're always going to go back or sideways. As soon as Grant came on and found his feet, his first touch was on the half turn and he was facing the Ross County goal. And he was just, and it's just wee simple things like that that brought Hearts forward. And he played passes to, like, if you're standing in space, Ando, he never passed it to you. He passed it 5 yards in front of you and be like, move on to it. And all that just moved us up the park.
Definitely. And the one word that sums that all up is awareness. He has an absolute awareness of what's going on around him. Now, Mikey Smith, with the greatest of respect to him, you put him at right back, he has awareness of everything that's happening in that position. But if you, again, like a fish out of water, you put him in a position that's maybe slightly alien to him, he doesn't know to check over that shoulder and and all that sort of stuff. I know all pro footballers know that stuff, but it's not a finely rehearsed routine. Whereas if you put a good player that knows that position well, he's going to have an awareness of everything that's happening in the space around him. And you've seen that yesterday. To your point, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, and you touched on it there, Tam, about Shankland. And this is the thing that worries me about us. We don't have to, obviously, we've not signed Sims, but we need a different option between Boyce and Shankland because our default to beat the press is to go long. And that's not Shankland. There is absolutely no point launching the ball forward and expecting Lawrence Shankland to win headers, flick-ons or whatever. It's not going to happen. One, if he does win a flick-on or a header, who's it to? Because he's not playing with a strike partner. So they're just winning the second balls anyway, which happened relentlessly in the first 45 minutes. Big centre half coming up, winning a header, heading it down into the middle of the midfield when you have Mikey Smith and Peter Haring that are sitting deep anyway. So they were instantly able to put their foot in the ball, start putting things to us. The other thing too was like Ellis Sims was brilliant at running channels. That's where he got most of his goals, was Barry Mackay sliding him in, etc. That's no Lawrence Shankland either. The goal that Alan Forrest scored are the type of goals that Lawrence Shankland's going to score. You need Barry Mackay getting to the byline, you need Forrest getting to the byline, you need cutbacks, you need balls in. We did none of that in the first half for Shankland, and he just looked totally and utterly isolated, didn't he?
100%. As you say, he was trying, like he was running about, and he does that. He's a bit different for Boyce. Boyce will drop deep to come and get the ball, but Shankland's always going to stay on that last defender. But the ball's in the air. I think I was saying to the guy beside me, I think he won one, and that was about 65 minutes in, something like that. Later on in the earlier on in the sort of first half, but that out ball's just not going to work. And it links in with when Grant came on, to be honest, because once he came on, he was passing the ball to Cochrane, he was getting Mackay involved, he was getting Forrest involved. And the first time we had a real cross into the box, we actually scored a goal. Obviously, Shankland wasn't involved, but it was the first proper cross into the box and we scored. So that's what we need to be doing if Shankland's on the park, to be honest.
If you watch the goal back, see if Forrest isn't there, Shankland is a metre behind him, exactly, unmarked, ready to score. And see this point that Corbett just raised there, I think it does Shankland a full disservice. You could have Harry Kane, Aguero, Ronaldo, Zifuk, some of the best strikers in the world up there. And if they win that header, there's no. What's the second option? He won the header, and we're all like, "Oh, brilliant! He's just knocked it 10 yards towards their keeper." Like, there needs to be the one to feet, or if you're going to play the long ball, there needs to be runners in behind. So that's where you need to have that 4-2-3-1. So the 10's winning that header, and you've got your runners behind. It's just it doesn't work, and I think it made him look shit. To be fair, playing these long balls constantly.
And you're playing one up front, and if they're playing, I don't know what formation they played, but if they play three at the back, and we've got one up front, he's double teamed every single time he gets the ball. So even if he does manage to win a header, and he does manage to retrieve the knockdown, what's he doing? It's him versus two defenders at least every single time, and they can double up on him. Mackay and Forrest were just nowhere near him for the first 45 minutes, and that again comes from, like we've said, not to keep going over the point, but it comes from the fact that Haring is defensive minded, and that's why he's there. We need him there. That's why Benny's so good. It's why Devlin's so good. They protect the back three because we play that way. But when your second midfielder also is defensive minded and sits there, there's nothing in midfield. So this can't go try and back up Shanklin because they're already outnumbered in the midfield anyway, and they're just overloaded in the middle of the park every single time. Tam, you mentioned someone there that I actually wanted to highlight, because I actually thought for the whole 90 minutes I thought he had a great game, was Alex Cochrane. I thought he got stuck in. Yeah. I think he's absolutely solid on that side of the park. Him and Kingsley will make a formidable side of the park. Both our goals come from that side as well, which was good to see.
Is that to me?
Well, you were the one that talked about him.
Nah, to be fair, I completely agree. Like the full 90 minutes, he was that only kind of wide out ball. The 3-4-3 that we play, it only works if your wing backs are high up the park attacking. That's the only way, and he was always trying to do that. But pity is the other side didn't have that out ball, so it wasn't working as well. But as you say, I'm really glad we've got him on a permanent deal. To be honest,
he looked good, Ando, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, arguably man of the match for me. I think that I'm going to tell you, I think maybe got it, but we'll leave that for another discussion. But Cochrane, probably the best player on the park for me yesterday.
Kev, obviously you couldn't be bothered to go on Saturday because you've got better things to do with your time. But what about the highlights and stuff that you watched? Did anything stick out for you?
I think you've already covered it. The first half display on Sports Scene's run through of, do we get 7 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it was. It seemed that we had nothing at all in the first half, and you've all confirmed that. I was impressed with the boy Edwards, as you rightly said, Brad. He turned a few players inside it, and definitely was unlucky not to score his cell with the shot he had that hit the crossbar. But he was at. No. Nah, he doesn't touch it. No, I do think I will say that if it had been an inch lower, then Gordon would have got a finger to it. So Gordon's covered his angles and all that. But the guy did look great, and I was surprised they actually took him off after about 65 minutes.
He was hanging at his arse.
Aye. So, I mean, from that point of view, the first half was, I didn't even know if the Ross County keeper was actually playing in the first half, other than a shot that Shanklin had.
But they never showed it in any of the highlights, but we actually missed a sitter in the first half. Our only decent passage of play, again, down the left-hand side. Again, I don't know why he does a sort of cut back to Barry Mackay, who acres of space, 15 yards out, fluffed it right into the path of Mikey Smith, and Mikey Smith, just for whatever reason, couldn't get a touch on it. But it was the sort of just before half time, we started to sort of build up and play some actual football, and that was a semi decent opportunity or whatever. But you're right, it was. Rock didn't say a battering in the first 45 minutes. They had the lion's share of possession, etc. And they had good half chances, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously the boy makes the one that hits the bar all by himself. You're cutting inside, you're still 25 yards out, you're thinking, right, well, you're going to have to score a world if you're scoring for here. And he's 2 inches away from doing exactly that. The other one's just shite defending, like just terrible all round. Didn't stop the first cross, didn't get out quick enough to stop the fucking second cross, and then counting our lucky stars that the one that comes back off the post, the guy does an Ellis Sims in the Scottish Cup final and goes with his wrong foot to try and tap it in and makes an arse of it. So obviously second half changes. We've spoke about it there, Brads, but Grant was mega impressive, wasn't he?
Yeah, unbelievable. And that, as Ando said, that awareness, it was beyond obvious what he was doing. And what I loved about his game was, see, before if Mikey Smith's got the ball, he knows Mikey Smith's going to pass it back to Civic. He's already got his head up, and he's already looking over his shoulder to see where Cochrane is. He's seeing where Mackay is. He's already making 3 or 4 decisions before he knows that second pass is even coming to him. That is the proper switched on play. That's fantastic. And as you said as well, his first touch was forward. How fucking hard is that? How many centre midfielders have we had over the years? Gomez, Boabin, Haran, Smith. They all take their first touch back to goal and then try and take 2 or 3 touches to decide where they're going to go next. Take a touch forward, drive 3 or 4 yards forward with the ball, then play a good pass. It sounds basic, but it's about having confidence driving forward with the ball.
And one of the things I liked Ando's second half it was unlucky, so to speak, for Hearts' perspective, is that whole part of our play is to encourage teams to come at numbers because we can hit them on the break, right? It's what we do. But how many times on Saturday did we win the ball back and spring a break and it's Peter Haring bursting into the Ross County half, and it's like, Jesus Christ, how fucking slow is this? And like the wrong pass or the wrong here, and you're thinking if that was Barry Mackay or if it had been to Grant or whatever, you're looking at a goal scoring opportunity.
I think, like, I'll be honest, I was quite raging with Haring yesterday, but it's not specifically his fault for exactly what you've just said there. He found himself in positions where, see, yesterday, my one big criticism of Peter Haring is his first touch was awful. He lost the ball quite a lot yesterday, and then he's trying to make passes, and it all goes back, especially in the first half, goes back to the points that we've already spoken about just trying to get rid of the ball. But if you put someone that's capable, that's on the end of that, you think, fucking hell, we probably could have done a lot better. But I'm not going to criticise Haring too much. It was just an off day for him yesterday, I think.
That was his single worst performance in a Heart shot. I was fuming at him.
Yeah, but you still can't criticise him too heavily for it. It was a shit performance, but I still
and I think, like I said, first competitive match, you could tell. I can't be honest with you as well. What the fuck's Craig Gordon doing for their goal? It was rusty all over the park. Was rusty, and the most pleasing thing is the fact that we're sitting here talking about a win, because it could have easily have been a fucking battering if we only got our finger at the second half. We've talked about it there. Obviously, he had an in and out performance, Alan Forrest, but I think as soon as he got his goal, he sprung into life. He was direct, positive, getting to the byline. It's got the whole goal. The build up for his goals is a peach. It's a great goal. It looks like an easy finish. It's no. He proper has to adjust his body, tucks it away. It's a decent finish, but after that, I thought he played pretty well. Tim,
100%. I agree with you there. I think he struggled to get involved at the first half. Both him and Mackay, they were just, I don't know, positionally they weren't really at it, to be fair. But as you say, once took the goal really well. That was a proper striker's finish, and it's good to see a midfielder get his goal in the first game of the season, because we struggled with midfield goals last season. So hopefully more to come. Same with Mackay, I suppose, as well. But he was really good. I was surprised to see them both get taken off at the time they did. To be fair, that was a strange decision.
I was going to talk about that later, but we can talk about it now because it's like the first rule is you have to be super on the ball and concentrated after a goal. It's like you teach that to kids, and we took the two best players, or like the goal scorer and Hingway clean off the park and they instantly score. Like, just sucked the life out of us. It was pretty bad stuff. You know what's something that annoyed me yesterday, actually, Ando, and I don't know if anybody else picked it up. The fucking referee was always in the way. It's like, see, the amount of times that Barry Mackay and Alan Forrest had to run either round the ref or past the ref, or the ref had to shuffle out the way a pass. It was doing my fucking head in.
Yeah, he wiped out. He wiped out one of the Ross County players. Should have given himself a yellow card. Like, I think David Dickinson, not the guy from Bargain Hunt, was
Is that who it was? I didn't recognise him.
That's the referee. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere, maybe on the BBC report. If I've got that wrong, apologies. But I'm sure it's David Dickinson. He fucking crap. He had no. Like, see, he almost had no authority in the game apart from challenging fucking everybody.
Right.
It's like he chased some Ross County boy into the penalty box to book him. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You should be calling him over, making him bow at your knees, and then yellow carding him. It's like, it's just pathetic. But it's just all goes into the SFA wank 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 narrative, doesn't it?
Can anyone explain that?
So the county shot was off target, but it hit him and deflected on target to Gordon. So Gordon just picked up the ball and played. However, the rule of the games are if you hit the referee, the team who hit the referee maintain possession. So he tried to give County back the ball at the edge of the box with a drop ball.
No, that's the rules.
Yeah, and the Hearts players were like, no, the ball was going to play. It was going miles off target. You've deflected it on target. Just give us the ball and let's play.
You're like, nah, you're going to touch it. The same.
Aye.
Fucking mate, he got the other drop ball wrong too.
I know.
He got the other drop ball wrong as well. He did the polar opposite of what he did for Ross County. It should have been a Hearts ball. It went out to play whilst Hearts were on the break because he stopped it for a head knock, and then he let Ross County play it back to the goalkeeper. I was like, what the fuck?
Aye, on the sportsman's rule, that's supposed to be gone now. Like, what the fuck?
Aye, it was a shocker. Let's talk about what was positive. Took 30-something games for Barry Mackay to score his first goal for Hearts. Day one, goal one. Brad's, talk us through it. What a finish.
2 beautiful touches. How do you take 4 boys out with 2 touches? He's like these boys that we play fives with, that the ball just goes to their feet and you can never fucking... Everybody who knows this, Fraser Marshall, you're a wank. He's that guy. Right? Takes 2 touches and beats 10 guys in 1 goal. Like, that is... I love that kind of player. They're frustrating to play against, but I don't even know how he does them. He does 1 touch inside and then hits it off his shin and then scores. Like, it's brilliant.
And it falls into the narrative too that it sounds... It's one of those football cliches or whatever, but I couldn't care less if they did nothing in the game but did something. If you know what I mean, like I thought Alan Forrest and Barry Mackay had quiet games until obviously Barry Mackay grew into the game, but Alan Forrest came alive after he scored type thing. But they both scored, both impacted the game. So they maybe not had their best games, but how many times have we seen players put in decent performances and go, oh, if only had got a goal, or if he'd got a goal, he would have been better, or whatever. And now we're saying they played fucking shite, but they've both scored. One is the game type thing. It's a great place to be in. But Barry Mackay, we've said it before, and we'll say it again. He's going to be superb again this season for Hearts. He just does things that no one else can do.
Caviar.
Aye.
I think you summed that up last week when you said we're pre-season under him. Let's see what he's really about. Because
aye. And you can tell if you can get that sort of that relationship that him, Boyce, and Sims got towards the end of the season. You've seen it. He played a couple of sort of those threaded passes that Shanklin just never read or Forrest never got on the end of type thing. When that starts to click, I think he'll be brilliant. Talking of the substitutions, obviously you said you talked about it there. Pretty disappointed to see Shanklin go off for Boyce to come on. I would have quite liked to have seen the two of them play together. I know that Shanklin's maybe not had the pre-season that we would have probably liked him to have, and Boyce is injured, but I still would have liked to have seen that partnership, because everything that Shanklin needs is everything that Boyce brings, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? The busyness round about, that if Shanklin wins a header, Boyce will be there to win second balls, etc., etc. So I was a bit disappointed with that, and then obviously really disappointed we just totally and utterly switched off for their goal. It was pretty pathetic all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think, see, for me, Robbie's got to hold his hands up there as well, because that is old school Hearts Levine tactics. We're 2 up, let's hit the panic button, let's just put a brick wall up. And not only did he change the shape, he changed the personnel as well. For me, if you're going to change the shape 5 minutes before you bring those boys on, so people know who they're playing, so people know what their role's going to be, so new boys like fucking Kai Rolls knows what the fuck's going on, instead of just doing it all in a one whack, and then we lose, make the big mistake. The other thing for me is we speak, and Savage obviously spoke to you about getting closer to the Old Firm. The Old Firm at 2 goals don't sit back.
No.
They smell blood and they go, these guys are wounded, let's keep pressing them now, because all they're going to do now is they're going to chuck bodies forward, which means we're going to have more space. Let's keep attacking. The best form of defence is attack, and you go for it. That's what we need to do.
And it's one of the weaknesses of this team. We've seen it at Hampden with Hibs. You're 2-0 up within 22 minutes. We put the ball out for a throw-in. You regroup. You face them up. You clear the danger. You go on and win 3 or 4-0. We don't. We cut, like I said, just naivety for Civic in that instance. Lets them in. They score. It goes 2-1, and suddenly you're in an absolute position of power. And I don't know about you, but I hate the 2-1 scoreline more than any other scoreline on planet Earth. Although what it is, I'd much rather be 4-0 down than 2-1 up. It makes me so nervous that you're, because it's like you said, it's if they score to make it 2 each, all the momentum's with them. They're probably more likely to go make it 3-2 than you're likely to run at the park and make it 3-2 to yourself. It's just, it's horrible to be in. And plus, it felt like County had played well. They started to run out of steam, and we started to get a foothold in it. And Brad's is right. Totally and utterly could have sniffed blood. We're 2-0 up. Lapse of concentration. We took our forwards off to bring Halliday, etc. on to shore up and see it out 2-0. And then you go 2-1 and suddenly you think, oh fuck, we need to try and score again. And basically all our attacking players are off the park. Last one we'll talk about in the game, because we wanted to single them. I actually thought, you mentioned them there, I thought Kai Rowles had a very good game. So did Craig Halkett as well. I thought Halkett was brilliant at the back. He no single him out for saying he did anything brilliant, but he just looked like organised, was barking at the defence, was keeping them all in shape or whatever. Like, I didn't care what anybody says. I fucking love Craig Halkett now. He's gorgeous, actually. He's gorgeous.
To get your point about Rowles, I thought apart from one, there was only one where he tripped over his own feet
twice.
Well, I was going to say I'm saying once, but I thought it was twice, but corrected myself. It must have been twice. Where he tripped over his own feet or went to kick the ball and fucking completely missed it, scuffed it. Apart from those 2 minor failures, when you're a professional footballer, apart from those 2 minor failures, I thought he looked all right. It was solid. Didn't put us in danger at any point. Took the ball down, passed it the square or whatever. Like it was the safe thing to do, and that's what you want in a defender. You don't want someone that's fucking kamikaze. I think his first game at home, I thought he'd done no bad. So fair play to him, boy.
I thought so too. Right. That's out of the way. 3 points in the bag. We move on to Easter Road on Sunday. Kev, any thoughts for the game on Sunday?
I think I'd seen a couple of people tweet about it today. If we go out with our strongest 11, starting 11, going by what I've seen of Hibs over the last couple of games and what I've heard of from a few Hibs fans, I hopefully don't expect anything great, but typical Hearts will get a 1-1 draw or something like that.
One thing's for certain, Hibs will be absolutely nowhere near as shite as what we think they're going to be. I can guarantee.
That's 100%.
I can guarantee that. I was very confident with some of the Hibs fans that I know that Hibs would win on Saturday. St Johnstone are fucking dug, mate. You're as well just relegating St Johnstone now. There's absolutely not a hope in hell that they'll stay up in this league. There's not a hope in hell we'll beat them in Perth, but they'll absolutely the 6 points that they get this season will be from Hearts at Perth. But they're absolutely 100% going to get relegated. But I don't think Hibs will be anywhere near as shite as what we think they're going to be. The thing I'm looking forward to, or what I hope, Ando, is that we're getting into a bit of a habit of not getting beaten these games. Don't want to tempt any fate or whatever, but if we avoid today, I think it's 7 undefeated. It'll be 2018 since the last time we lost at Easter Road. So, we're starting to become very Hearts again with the derby. Robbie, we used to beat him for that as well, for having a horrendous derby record. He's now only ever lost one derby, so he's got the potential to kick on. So should be decent. Actually, he's lost 2 derbies, talking shit. But thoughts for Sunday, Ando?
I'm raging. I missed out by 1 loyalty point. Clearly, I never bought enough useless tickets that I had no intention of going to last year to get me over the threshold, but that's my own personal problem. But I think
that's what's wrong with you. You don't have
I
enough
know. Oh, fuck off, man. Fuck off. Right. See when Twitter send through the email, I'm just going to delete it, man. Right, because you've not got the password, so up you. No, I think I'll be honest. Normally when you look forward to going to Easter Road, then you're always thinking it's got the same thing written all over it: 0-0, 1-1, whatever. Then I genuinely think that if we go and Nielsen gets the tactics right, then and we play the strongest possible team that we've got, I think we do have enough to do them some damage. I think there's too much. Like, to your point about the Hibs that turn up on Sunday are not going to be as shite as we think they are. I kind of disagree. I think Hibs are almost in a stage where they've got something to prove. And I think that ultimately will be their undoing. Like, you've seen obviously all the unconfirmed stuff on Twitter yesterday about like players like kicking shit at each other or whatever. There's something not right at that club just now, and I'm all for it. I think I genuinely think we'll go there and we'll get a decent result. 2-0, 3-0 plus.
Brad, I think I kind of understand Ando's thinking there, is that the spine of our team know what it is to play in that derby and to win that derby. The Hibs are completely unknown. I see people talking about players on Twitter. I'm like, the fuck's that guy? Like, no idea who they're talking about. Like, maybe that'll come back to bite us in the arse. But again, I cannot not go back to. It feels like Ian Cathro's Hearts, fucking Mallory Martins and fucking Strunas and all that type of stuff going into an Edinburgh derby where they'll probably try and play football, they'll try and play a high press, etc., and we'll batter them.
I only hope that Rocky Bashiri doesn't get a retrospective ban. I hope he's playing on Saturday.
For his handball.
He elbowed the boy in the face. Yeah, it was spoken about last night.
It's another one for the IR list there, Corbett.
So, I think you're right. I think Hearts will have more experienced derby players in there. But both managers have played in that, so they know what it's. They know what it's about.
Johnson's never played in an Edinburgh derby. Not did
not?
Absolutely not. He played like 4 games.
Oh, I thought he said he had. Oh, he said he's experienced it. There you go.
Picked up the cones, man. He picked up the cones.
I've watched it on the telly and I've been at the games. That doesn't mean I'm a derby superstar.
There you go. Again, I'd rather. It's a weird feeling. I'd rather go in against a strong Hibs team than a weaker one, because they're always. I prefer going in as an underdog than this swag and confidence and this overconfidence that we're going to absolutely hammer them. I'd rather be a wee bit more anxious and be a wee bit more cautious going into these things.
Kev, if we're going to be cautious, or actually Tam, because you gave your opinion, Kev, so you can sit back on your. Tam, if we're going to be cautious about this sort of stuff, we look back at last season and say, we never won a single game away from home against Celtic versus Rangers versus Aberdeen versus Hibs. We never beat Motherwell away from home, etc. I think Dundee United, the only side in the top 6 that we beat away from home. including Ross County in that. So our away form against the so-called bigger teams is pretty shite. Last year's derbies, the one at Easter Road was pretty rubbish as well. Yeah, we probably should have had a penalty, potentially two, the handball, etc., etc. But we also very lucky to get away. Toby Sibbick's had the clear one off the line in with the last kick of the ball. You're going to hope that that's something this season that we look to improve in it?
Absolutely. I'm sure you would hope that's a goal within the camp in a sense that we have to get that record better against the bigger teams and away from home as well. Tynecastle did have a bit more of a fortress feel last year, so if we can get our away form better, we should really be pushing on a bit more, to be honest. To be honest with you, I'm a bit worried, as Bradley said about Sunday. I hate going in confident, thinking that they're falling apart again, and then us, it doesn't provide me with very much confidence, to be honest.
Oh well, right.
Damn, you're nervous about everything all the time. You've been sitting chewing your fucking nails all night. It's like, be confident about this one thing. Come on, be confident. We'll smash
Talk
them.
to me on Saturday, and I'll be fucking, I don't know, I'll be
Hiding under
doing
the
something
table.
that a nervous person does. Fuck
Aye.
it, yeah.
You'll have
Hiding in the garden shed.
no fingernails left.
Right. Now it's the time when you're on the internet where it's time to make a total of yourself. Let's have predictions for the Edinburgh derby. Ando, what's your score prediction?
Hibernian 0, Heart of Midlothian 3.
Kevin?
I'm going 1-1.
Brad's?
Hibernian 0, Hearts 0.
Thomas?
Same for me. 0-0.
Free, snap, Hearts 0, Hibs 0 will be my guess for Sunday. For Sunday as well. Right, let's get the answers to the conundrums and we'll call it a night.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about them. Right. The first one. I think it was a very easy one, unless you're Tam.
Give them the opportunity to get this right.
Who is that new? I will do. So, just to go back over what the clues were. Who is that new lad, Lou's dad? And the answer is, he is McCann and Berry's boy. Tam?
Neil something, but no idea.
Again.
Lou is Neil's.
What?
Oh
No,
my
for
God. Right.
fuck's sake.
Oh, Lewis Nielsen.
Lou is
yeah,
Neil's
all
son.
right, okay.
Jesus
you
Christ,
got it,
honestly,
man.
you are slower than Shanks on tranquilizers.
Well, funny you should say that. The next answer is the track
Yes.
one.
No, it's not. It's not. Number 2 was Home Alone allegedly punched Kevin Nisbet in the face last night. Corbett?
Kevin something.
Nope.
No.
Who was the... Oh, Ando?
Jamie McAllister.
Nope.
How no?
So, Home Alone
How no?
is
How
which
no?
actor?
Brad, you're wrong. Your question's wrong.
It's Macaulay Culkin, isn't it?
Yep. And who was allegedly fighting Nisbet last night?
Tate.
So, Macaulay
Who's
Tate.
that?
Who the fuck's that?
Young laddie.
A
Young laddie
youngster.
that plays up front.
Youngster. Oh, shit. I know what I've done there. I used to work with a guy called Jamie Tate. You've said Tate. I've thought Jamie McAllister. Ah, shite.
I'm not going to lie.
Because of the Home
I
Alone
fucking no idea
reference.
who Macaulay Tate
Fuck's
is. I
sake.
didn't realise that Conundrums fucking went to the fucking under 18s.
He was on the bench last year. He featured.
Did he fuck?
This is right. Last one. Levine looks absolutely off his nut, mate. Is he pissed? Nah, he's been on the horse tranquilizers. Kev?
Nah, I couldn't get it. I was trying to think of some player that's got ketamine in his surname.
Aye,
Well,
so
we'll go to our resident Jake
Aye.
Paul. Corbett?
Mate, you've just made me realise how much I enjoy ketamine. I have no idea what the person is, but if I take some, I'll get back to you.
I know there's a Hearts reference in there, but I can't get there. I'm looking at it and nah, I can't make the connection.
Levine looks absolutely pissed. Levine looks absolutely off his nut, mate. Is he pissed? Nah, he's on horse tranquilizer. Craig's Hill Ket. He's okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Fucking hell.
Right.
That's
it.
a reach and a half, man. That is an
That
absolute
is-
reach. You done.
Craig's okay.
That's absolutely
Right, and see,
horrendous.
instead, normally we'd say mic drop end the show. Go and someone pick up the mic and fucking beat him to death with it, because that's pish.
Listen, Craig's
Absolute
okay.
pish for you.
Listen, say it again. It sounds
Right,
like
boys. Well, if you see me Sunday, it'll be Liam's all
God.
kit. You enjoy your derby. I'll see you Sunday night for an absolute fucking raging podcast.
Sounds good.
Hey, boys.
mate.
See you
See you later.
later.
All the best, boys.
Good you later.
Cheerio.
Get out.